Six minutes before 8 o'clock, Friday morning. Mr. Omar Sweeney, greetings and welcome.
Morning, Ronnie. How are you?
Fine. Nice to have you again. Omar Sweeney is the president of the Jamaica Institution of Engineers. Asking you clearly and again, sir, what can Jamaican public listening to us this morning, what can we expect of the engineers? We need to up the profile of your profession. We need to understand better how you can help us to transform this land by your skills. What would you say?
Well, Ronnie, I appreciate that. And first, let me say thanks for having me this morning.
Sure.
The Jamaica Institution of Engineers, our mandate is to promote the general advancement of our profession and also share information and ideas with the members of the public and our membership in general. So I'm glad for your comment this morning because I do believe, and our institution is of the view that we are a part of the solution that Jamaica is looking for. For the last 3 years, we've aligned our objectives with our growth plans for Jamaica with Vision 2030. And so this year, in my administration, the council will be looking at 4 main areas. And let me start by saying engineering education as one. Engineering education involves 2 parts. It's really development of the youth into the profession, getting more youth attracted to the profession, and also it deals with continuing education for practitioners.
Yes. Can I pause you there? Because I know a lot of young people who want to, if they understood better what the engineer does, the range of possibilities for earning, for contribution, they would be entranced. But what they don't get, Omar, is the importance of mathematics at the early stages and continuing to those ambitions. Have you picked up the same thing?
Well, yes. What it is really, though, the connection between the mathematics and science with engineering, I think, is where we might be losing it. Truly, engineering really is just the application of scientific principles for the use of the public.
Yes, but you can't. If you don't get the math, you won't get the science.
Absolutely, and we have to just be there. And what we want to do as an institution this year is to work closely with the University of Technology and even with secondary schools, and be able to have our presence there and encourage this business of engineering. Now, UTech, for example, is the premier engineering institution in the country.
Indeed.
And what to do is to really establish a student chapter at the University of Technology where presence will be more seen and the youth can see, up and comers can see where this is a profession that really is something to pursue.
Sure. Well, we look forward to that, and that will be very helpful and will articulate back into the whole grade system of the schools, But what about the continuing education of practitioners? Here's a concern I have. Yes, I'm just suggesting that we're on a tight budget, huh? Every aspect, public and private financing in Jamaica. We need to do those projects to maintain the things that we have, to transform our physical environment, Omar Sweeney, in ways that are both going to be the best investment of the scarce dollar. And we have to do it in a way that's appropriate to our economy. Is classic engineering training disposed towards that? Do you see this as a gloss on your functioning as engineers in Jamaica?
Well, absolutely. I mean, the sustainability of if I'm understanding you correctly, is important. And what it is really is, our view, I would tell you, is that engineers in Jamaica have been doing an excellent job for the last 30 plus years.
Yeah.
However, our industry is also affected by an influx of foreign consultants that continue to come in and not understand the total situation here in Jamaica. And so a lot of projects that end up not being sustainability because they are not designed appropriately to fit the use. And it could be a problem of really not having the best practitioners now.
Yes.
One of the reasons that happens is because much of the international funding that funds these projects come with requirements that mean that engineers must be at a certain level internationally. And one of the standards for that is the business of continuing education for engineers who are registered. So all engineers to practice in Jamaica must be registered with the Engineering Registration Board. That's law. Well, one of the international standards that you have for that is continuing education units. And so this year, we definitely will be seeking to establish a mechanism that will allow practitioners to be used.
Very good. And will it be mandatory or voluntary?
No, it will be mandatory. That's the idea. It will be mandatory for re-registration. And we're working closely with PERC, working closely with UTEC and other partners that can offer the training. We expect to have this established by the end of the administration in a year's time.
Very good. Are there new horizons, new frontiers of engineering practice that attract you, that can be important for us here?
Well, most important to us right now, and with our dialogue with the Ministry of Industry and Commerce, is the growing opportunities that exist for agro-processing and food processing methodology. Right. And so this typically involves chemical engineering, industrial engineering, agricultural engineering practices. And we want to link more because most of the foreign direct investment opportunities for Jamaica now lie in this area. And so we mobilizing our engineers, mobilizing the expertise in this field to be able to offer it to potential investors is something that we also want to focus on.
Good. Well, and you mentioned two other objectives that you have.
Well, that was the new realms of engineering, right, and the third one, the final one I wanted to say. Mm-hmm. On September 27th, the first draft of the Building Code Act was tabled in Parliament.
Yes.
And that came really as a result of hard work done by the institution, led by engineer Noel DaCosta.
Yes.
And it will replace our building code that has been in existence for more than 100 years.
Let me get it straight. The Institute of Engineers then endorses and in fact acknowledges the creation of this new building code?
Well, not only acknowledges, we are integral to it.
Yes.
It really came to voluntary service of a number of engineers.
Yes.
Well, that's well in excess of $200 million.
I imagine. No, that's tremendous, and that therefore it deserves careful scrutiny and strong support, given that imprimatur, you know.
Right. And so one of the final thing I was saying was that we're looking to having this enacted in law this year.
Yes.
But further to that, there's other standards for infrastructure, roads, water supply, bridges, that we also want to be brought up to date. What I spoke about was the building code, so that would take care of building.
Sure.
But there's other standards for roads and infrastructure.
Are you working on those things too?
We are working to have those updated.
Yes. Well, I think this interview is helpful because it indicates the contribution of the engineers, as you say, voluntarily for the most part, in these ventures. And if the engineers, for their own sake and for our sake, take charge of the standards and execution of infrastructure development, it will be to the good of the country.
Yes, Ronnie. I mean, it all ties back to what you said originally, which is the sustainability of projects and our own development here in Jamaica. These are the things we need to do.
Yes.
And we need to put it out there. We really are looking for public support.
Yes.
And you know, as we go along, I appreciate the fact that you have us here today.
No, we'd like to continue this.
To say what is happening.
Indeed, step forward. We're pleased to accommodate this. It's to everybody's benefit. Thank you, Omar Sweeney.
Okay.
All the best. Good. President of the Jamaica Institute of Engineers. These guys are not staying in the background anymore. They're coming forward. I did not know of the extent of the contribution that they have made to the drafting of the building code and their insertion into education. Engineers vital to the infrastructural and other development in our nation. We feature them on Independent Talk.